Well, wouldn't you know it? Looks like Europe is breaking and Spain is being invaded. Now, we've seen this play out before in a different atmosphere, a different country, in our very own country in the United States. Looks so familiar. It's almost like a familiar playbook. We're going to get into that. And of course, you all heard that Dr. Fauci pleaded the fifth all day long. It's 111 times or something crazy like that. And there's some stuff to be revealed or to talk about in his own diary. All that and more when we come right back.
We pray for love and unity, and that the church would find new zeal and commitment to the mission and purpose of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
You're a liar! You're a liar!
Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart.
Well, it's that time again, ladies and gentlemen, for the Political Pulpit. I'm your host, Josh Navarrete, and it's so good to be back on the program this Friday afternoon. It is 3 o'clock somewhere, well, at least here in Arizona, and we are happy to get to you what is going on in the news. Doesn't look great, but it's always good to stay aware and stay alert on what's happening. Before we begin, I want to remind you all to hit that like, share, and subscribe button, and make sure you are plugged into what we're doing. As long as you're subscribed and the notification bell on YouTube is selected, you're going to know when we go live and when we upload content. Otherwise, something like 10% of people get notified when we go, of our subscribers actually get notified when we are live or upload content. You can also visit www.politicalpulpit.com/partner to find out how to become a Political Pulpit partner to help us keep this message going. It's what's happening in the world in the news today from a biblical perspective. And you can also get your news on the www.politicalpulpit.com website. All right, let's get into it. We have tons of clips to show you. There's a lot going on. It's a playbook that we've seen before. But what's weird about this is that now the news wants to cover the chaos and tragedy, the invasion, all of the things that we've been saying the last 5 years. But when it's here in the United States, everything's generally peaceful and under control. Isn't that funny how things work? It's almost like there's a greater power that's at play. There's almost like there's something else going on or someone else running the show. We titled this Europe is Breaking because it looks like Spain is being invaded. Let's go ahead and pull that up and roll what's happening. It says, I saw Spain yesterday. I watched the catastrophe that took place. This is President Trump talking on this. It looks like an invasion of a country by hundreds of thousands of people. That same thing is going to happen to U.S. if the Republicans don't get elected, except worse, much bigger. Much easier to get into, despite the fact that we have built thousands of miles of wall. And we have a clip here to show you. Go ahead and play it.
Drug prices are great. You know, I saw Spain yesterday, and I watched the catastrophe that took place. It looks like an invasion of a country by hundreds of thousands of people. And that same thing's going to happen to us if the Republicans don't get elected. Except worse, much bigger, much easier to get into, despite the fact that we have built thousands of miles of wall. Drug prices.
So thousands of miles of wall. You know what's funny about that is the last administration completely stopped the construction of that wall and even cut out sections of the wall and allowed invaders to do the same thing, so that people could come on through. And there are clips that we're going to show you, which shows the exact same thing. Military men and women are standing at the border for Spain, in Ceuta, I guess it's called, and they're just letting people come through. Let's start rolling up the next clip, or preparing that, from Benny Johnson. Says, live footage of the African invasion of Spain right now. Wait, checks notes, correction. This was the third world invasion of the U.S. border just a few months ago under Democratic rule. A reminder that Democrats will do this again when they get power to fully destroy the West. Yes, that's true. I know you guys don't like it when I say things that are political, but this is the political pulpit. It's supposed to make you upset. It's supposed to make you think twice about who and what you vote for. I was an independent for so long because I couldn't stand policies and the war-driven presidents on one side and the liberal policies on the left. So I stayed neutral. But then I realized I had to pick a side because I had to fight for what I believed in and make sure that every vote that I cast counted. All right, anyways, take a look at this. This isn't even Spain. This is not third world country. This is the United States. Roll it. That's so similar. As a matter of fact, yeah, that's Arizona. That's between Arizona and we're in Arizona. This is where this show is broadcasting from, and we all saw this coming. And there you go. It's the same scene. Nice to see you being able to count and let people in a little at a time. By the time they got to this side of the U.S., they were given credit cards, phones, new clothes, new bags, place to stay, nice hotel rooms. And they would say to your face, Mayorkas would tell all the United States before Congress that the border is under control and secure. Mostly men, middle-aged men. Look at this. Do you guys remember the feeling? Do you remember what this felt like? Do you remember what it was like watching this, not from the news media, because they weren't covering this. You couldn't watch nightly news, and they show the masses of people being corralled in.
10,503 illegal aliens. A mass of humanity that has crossed and is waiting to come into America. The reason they're here is simple.
Gracias. Agradecido con el país.
Soy periodista. ¿No?
Okay.
All right, that's good. Let's pull up the next one. All right, so this is all too familiar. Eric Doherty posts, Vice President J.D. Vance just ripped the left-wing globalists after the invasion of Spain, saying America is next if we don't prevent it. These images out of Spain are an unfortunate reminder of the consequences of mass migration and the radical left-wing globalist policies that have enabled the invasion of the West. Thank God President Trump was elected and our country's borders no longer looks like this. Roll it.
All over the West, and it's kind of crazy, is this idea that the way to generate prosperity is to bring in millions and millions of unvetted people and drop them into your neighborhoods, and we simply reject that idea. So to everybody in the UK who rejects that idea, I'd encourage them to just keep on going. It's okay to want to defend your culture. It's okay to want to live in a safe neighborhood. It's okay to want your job to go to yourself and your neighbors and not to a stranger who you don't even know. It's reasonable for the people in Western societies to want to control who comes into their country and who doesn't. A lot of people, frankly, a lot of people in the media have tried to persuade all of those people that it's somehow racist to want to protect your borders, even though very often the very people who are most affected by low-wage immigration are lower-income Black and Hispanic Americans right here in the United States of America, and I guarantee that's true in the UK. So we believe in making America great again. You can't do that unless you protect your borders. I'd encourage our friends in the UK to follow the same path. Thank you.
This is so that last statement was a very true statement, but most people will say that's a racist statement. That is not a racist statement, because the truth is that lower income minority families are greatly affected by mass migration, especially when they come in and take your jobs, because someone wants to pay lower wages to these people that don't understand, they're lower entry jobs. They're jobs that most people don't want because they're difficult ones. They're difficult jobs. So they will pay less money. And if they can get away with it, they'll do it. And that takes money out of your pockets, especially if you are a immigrant that's trying to get your citizenship, or you're working hard to make sure you become a citizen, doing all the right things. These invaders end up taking your spot in place. As a matter of fact, they cut the line. Benny Johnson says Muslim invaders are now yelling Allah Akbar while conquering Spain. Thousands of military-aged men storm the border, break into homes, start fires, terrorize innocent citizens. This is what an invasion looks like. You know, Spain's a much smaller country than we are. So for that country to have the invasion that they're having will make a greater impact very quickly. And already Ceuta was overtaken. They only have 80,000 known citizens. About 30,000 invaded in like a day or two. It was probably more. So imagine the footprint of mass migration from those that are just desperately running into the country, looting and stealing and breaking into stores, and just, you know, there's even reports of them using the restroom in their streets, sleeping on their streets, burning buildings down, throwing rocks at military and police officer vehicles. It's a mess. Play it. Looks just like...
No, estaba mirando para allá, no te vi.
Wow.
وانا ماشي انا كنستنى على هذه لا السكه
What's he doing? I mean, you know, they're overwhelming the city. And this is what could happen to any city. It happened to Arizona cities. Even rural areas, farmers would often, every day actually, during the Biden administration, have to guard their properties and move immigrants or those that were flooding the country off their properties and bear arms and defend their area. It's well documented, well known. It says here, the border was secure. That's what Mayorkas said over and over, while the videos rolled over thousands of migrants rushing the southern border under his watch. Secure for who exactly? The Democrats, the globalists? I mean, somebody's running the show here. How are they following the same playbook? Who is making all of this happen? That was March 21st, 2021. The same month, 172,000 encounters with illegals in the U.S. That's crazy numbers. Over 5,500 illegal crossings every single day. Spain would not survive that. They're much smaller government. And the reason why they won't survive that is because their surrounding countries are securing their borders. They're shutting it down, even to Spain as a whole. So now, if Spain thinks, Mr. Sanchez thinks, I think it's Sanchez, that he's going to be used for this plan for the greater good, and probably thinking, well, we'll send some of them here, send some of them there. Now he's got to figure out what he's going to do with all of them. And I heard they're even making sure that some go back. Go ahead and roll this clip.
That the challenges at the border are very complex and dynamic.
All right, well, I'm going to take from that if you can't answer yes, then the answer is no.
That is not true.
All right, so then you're saying all nine are secure.
It is my testimony that the border is secure, and we are working every day, day and night, to increase its security. That the challenges at the border are...
Yeah, well, that's obviously not true. Wasn't true. They will lie to your face. They'll lie before Congress because secure is a relative word. To them, they can say this is their active plan, and that means that the border is secure. They claim that they're tracking everybody through that app. That was their saving grace. They created this app that allowed people to come north to the United States. Whether they did or not, they were coming, and they never stopped them. They allowed them to just come, supply their every need, whether it's healthcare or a place to stay, food, cards, phones, and say that we're tracking every single person. That's how they were able to say it's secure. Spain is probably following the same exact model. Now, who else is going to follow the same exact model? Who else is going to open their borders? I don't know if you noticed, but in that last video, they're saying Allah Akbar. This is a culture that that Spain is not familiar with. And that specific culture, their job is to dominate. It's a conquest. It's a takeover. It's an invasion. That's the goal. Whoever the elites are, whoever the globalists are, they want to disrupt the conservative movement. Christianity must be defeated in their eyes. The value system of Christians, those that believe the Bible, those that believe in Christ and have Christian values on a biblical world and a biblical worldview, must be conquered to them. Infidels must be dealt with. That's their goal. So yes, it's easy for globalists to disrupt that by saying, well, let's allow every one of them to be part of their countries by opening their borders and allowing them to establish their movement. This is a global takeover, guys. This isn't just Spain. It's not just the United States. The UK, by the way, is already lost. And we haven't even brought up Christian persecution in these countries. There's this big lie right now, this big farce that Europe is still Christian and that there isn't Christian persecution. Let me tell you, we're getting reports every day almost that Christian persecution is not just in African countries or like Nigeria, though it's prevalent, and we need to know about those things and expose it and press the government to deal with terrorists, because that's who's killing these poor people who are trying to have church and raise Christian families. But it's happening all over the world, and nobody wants to talk about it. How is it happening? Governments aren't doing their job. Why? Because they're falling and bending their knee to the globalists, the elites, the deep states of the world. It's true. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. After a while, things aren't conspiratory anymore. They're actually true. Because you can now see the patterns. I'm pretty good at pattern recognition, and this is very familiar. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see the playbook here. It's time to play offense and not defense. We can't let these things continue to happen. And I'm actually calling on every one of you that are watching to think about your vote this midterm election cycle. It really does matter. It's time to stop thinking like the world and stop thinking like news media, news stations, your nightly news, on how they want you to think. If you watch carefully, those that are sound, even on the left, are starting to rethink certain things like COVID and Dr. Fauci and this whole border crisis. They're starting to push back a little bit because they know that something's wrong. And if we're not careful in America, we're going to see this all over again, but it's going to be much worse because now the world is primed and ready. Third world countries are planning their day. They're counting their days, and they're watching our elections. Countries like Iran, and at the time, Venezuela and others like China, they're trying to sway elections to destabilize these countries. They would love nothing more than to destabilize the United States with an invasion of migrants and cultures that are not of the United States, a Christian nation. They would love nothing more than to destroy that. It would be, that's the goal. That's the goal, to change culture here in America. We're not going to let it happen. All right, let's get the other clip ready. We have Secretary Rubio. He's considering cutting off travel to U.S. from Spain. Do it. Let's do it now. Let's make them pay for their nonsense. We're considering action to defend Americans. Play it.
Look, the bottom line is there is no effective way to allow hundreds of thousands of people to enter any country in the world and not face consequences. You take 100,000 people from anywhere in the world, and you're going to have some percentage of them that turn out bad. Either they turn into criminals or potentially terrorists. I think that threat is heightened when you come from places that have terrorist movements that would target these people for radicalization once they enter our country. Look, the bottom line,
it's a good thing to do even in that instance, because it's still, you kind of have to let them know that they're not doing the right thing. You kind of have to put pressure on the government saying, all right, we see what you're doing. This is not good for the world. It's not good. Just, you don't want to live in a house where your windows and doors are always open to the rest of the city, to the rest of your, not because you don't trust your neighbors, which I guess you shouldn't completely trust your neighbors, even though, they're probably protecting their homes too from you. But you just never know who's going to roll in the neighborhood. We live in a fairly nice neighborhood, and every once in a while, we'll notice something or someone different. But you take care of your borders. You take care of you do the right thing by securing your perimeter. It's a normal thing for a country to do. I think every country should have secure borders. And for some reason, people who should be extremely smart, who are running countries, think it's a good idea to just let people on in, unaccounted for, unvetted. We have no idea if they're criminals, rapists, murderers, pedophiles, human traffickers, drug traffickers. You have no idea. You don't know where their social background is, their religious background. Not that, in America, you can worship whoever you want. And that's the consequences of living in a free country, whether good or bad. But you have to have a country of law and order, secure borders, protecting the innocent. You have to. Otherwise, you're going to have what you have in Spain. Trump says, I saw Spain yesterday. I watched the catastrophe that took place. It looks like an invasion of a country. Go ahead and roll this.
I saw Spain yesterday, and I watched the catastrophe that took place. It looks like an invasion of a country by hundreds of thousands of people. And that same thing's going to happen to us if the Republicans don't get elected, except worse, much bigger, much easier to get into, despite the fact that we have built thousands of miles of wall, which I said we were going to do, but we didn't have that, forget it. But we have the safest border in the world. If we're not in office, our country will be invaded at levels that made Spain look small time. And when I watched it, I said, boy, I'm going to say it because I knew you were going to be at Camp David. And I say, that's going to be a talking point for the midterms. Because when you look at what happened to Spain, they don't know what to do. And it's happening again today. They're coming in by the tens of thousands. They're just invading the country. And what that is weak law, bad management, but very liberal law. They passed a couple of laws, and people read. People are smart. They read from other countries, and they swam that 3-mile swim, or however they got in, but nobody's seen anything like it. That will look good compared to what's going to happen to the United States. The biggest thing, the worst thing that Biden did is allowing 25 million people into our country, because many of those people are criminals. They're murderers. A lot of them, 11,888. A lot of them are gone now. We got them out. But they allow people to come into this country that you can't allow to come into a country. We're also making...
So people don't like it when the president says that, because they'll group that whole statement and say he's racist, he doesn't love, he's a divisive president. You can't even say that 11,000 is an accurate number, because there's no way of tracking 25 million people, even if it was 15 million people. That's way too many people all at once. You might even ask, like, what does a pastor have to do with any of this? Like, why would he be discussing? Shouldn't he love people? Doesn't Bible tell you to not turn away the alien? It does. Immigrants, or I hear people say, well, Jesus was an immigrant. Yeah, well, Jesus was on a mission. Jesus had a goal. He was sent from heaven to deal with humanity. So we're technically, we need him more than he needs us. And the truth is this: there's a difference between immigration and invasion. What they're trying to do to this world, to this country and others, is to destabilize it. That's the goal. That is the goal. Stabilize the government, stabilize elections, stabilize your townships and your cities and your ordinances. It's destabilization. That is the goal, to control the masses. Look what Elon Musk says. Wow, the situation in Spain looks crazy. And it looks like a zombie apocalypse video. Go ahead and play it.
They're coming over the top!
Yeah, that's obviously an exaggeration, but man, he got 16.4 million views on that. It's a joke. People hate him for that, but it's hilarious because it's true. So it does look familiar, though, as many people crawling through the city, past the fences. That one clip we showed you, literally, I mean, could have been maybe 10,000 people, 5,000 people, right? Because it's 5,500 people a day at one point. Yeah. All right. Horror in Spain, about 20 fatalities, burning streets, looted shops and homes. Spaniards beaten and humiliated. Services powerless. Citizens left to fend for themselves. This is how leftist ideology ends. The president said bad management. I don't know that it's bad management. I think it's on purpose. You have to, and here's the other thing. How do that many people from other countries, third world countries, know that this is happening? So that they all show up at once in the thousands. And then you have buses, nice buses, full of people. I'm telling you, it's hard for like the regular 9 to 5, just blue collar, working hard. You're churchgoer, worried about getting dinner on the table, keeping the lights on, paying the bills. You're just, you're trying to build your little empire. It's really hard for you to comprehend that there's something that great and powerful behind the scenes. There has to be something. By the way, we know that there are principalities and powers that are it's spiritual warfare, right? That's really what we're battling with. But the influences that are spiritual over people that are very powerful are moving us like pawns on a chessboard. Think about the communication, the readiness that these people have to know Spain is free to go live. I'm sure, it spreads like wildfire when, word of mouth in those types of countries, I'm sure. But that many people pick up and go and show up, jump on buses, jump on boats, and all at the same time. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. These caravans of people, we saw it in the United States coming from Mexico, masses of people walking and marching together north. There's got to be something or someone or groups of people that are manipulating the masses like this. Go ahead and roll this one. Destroying Ceuta. They have no shoes, no clothes practically. It's hot over here. Look at this. Oh, we had, yeah, some of these are. Just pouring in. That's all they're doing, just pouring in. And you know, there's so many of them. There's not enough law enforcement to control them. Thousands of migrants swim to Spain, Ceuta, in mass crossing. What's happening with Spain? With tens of thousands of illegal immigrants invading it. Happened in the United States during the Sleepy Joe administration. It will happen again. Only worse if the Democrats ever gain power. Don't let our country be destroyed. Okay, I'm going to say this again. We have to take our midterm elections serious. We really do. We must do this. We must vote. Check out the policies. What do you want? You want secure borders. You want a balanced budget, at least in your state, right? You want accountability. You want good health care prices for everybody. You want low gas prices, low grocery prices. We want to end this war. We want all those things. And this whole, like, we got a governor who's not a governor. She's a placeholder for something else, for someone else, because she's touting that she balanced the budget in Arizona. She vetoed this thing 3 times, Katie Hobbs. She's saying that she's the one that got the no tax on tips, taking the president's idea, and she's the one that's repeating those words out of her mouth. And not even from memory. She's reading it on some iPad like teleprompter thing. That's what they do. They have bad policies and they push back and they fight and fight and fight. And then finally, when something gets pushed through, they're going to say, oh, we did this. We cannot let these people stay in office or get in office. All right, next. They're crazy. Unreal. The mass invasion into Spain has left Ceuta's beaches covered with discarded flotation devices, tubes, pool noodles, and mountains of trash. Once a beautiful place, now disgusting because of the mass invasion. Play it. Ugh. Just trash everywhere. All right, next. Okay, so now we have trucks are seen. Now, this is what I was telling you earlier. Trucks are seen carrying Moroccan migrants toward the Spanish border at Ceuta, said to be among hundreds. Unconfirmed reports claim Rabat is financing the migration. This is what I mean. People are getting paid. First of all, what they do is they pay these movers and shakers. What they go and they spread the news and they manage the movement. And those people are paid thousands of dollars. And then they have secondary and third levels of pay to actually get people to move. And they don't have to, in these countries, they don't have to pay them much. Press play. So many young men. Anyways, all right, next. By the way, this is all young men that's moving across this border. What is it that you have to think that their goal, they're like missionaries, they're invaders, they're crusaders for their cause, for their movement, for their belief system. Thousands of healthy young men somehow found buses and trucks to reach Ceuta. This was a coordinated invasion. No other way to put it. The only question is, who did the coordinating? Play it. Is that the same one?
عجز الكلام عن الكلام والنور أطفاه
I can't stand it. Play it. I mean, next. The point is, where do these people come from? We know where they come from, but how are they moving all at the same time on buses around the same age? Doesn't it strike you as odd? This is third world behavior. The people of Spain do not deserve this. This is terrible. Look at this is Ceuta. Go ahead and play this. Destroying that place. Imagine you living in one of those apartments. Can't even arrest him. He just has to try to take what he stole. Oh, man. Sad for those people. They have a testimony of those that are from there saying they've lost their city. This is from the Prime Minister of Italy. We will not yield an inch. Giorgia Meloni threatens to take extraordinary measures to defend her country's borders amid the shocking migrant surge in Spain. The images coming from Ceuta are striking and demonstrate once again that the uncontrolled illegal immigration poses a concrete threat to the security of Europe's borders. Italy will not stand by and watch. Well, good. I know her and the president are fighting right now, but at least they have the same ideology. Go ahead, play. I mean, we don't even know if anybody's drowned or died. I mean, I think some people have died. These are all young men. What is going on? All right, next. Mark Levin says the new Muslim crusade. The situation at the border between Spain and Morocco is completely out of control. North African Muslim criminals attack civilians and police. Europe is under Islamic attack. Play it. Oh, they're throwing rocks at police force here. Imagine just you're in your own city. People that don't live there, these people have no place to sleep, by the way. They're just picking up rocks, throwing it at your police officers. Unreal. All right, next. We saw the same chaos for 4 years with the Democrats, and they'll do it again. This is so funny. You have CBS literally covering this, who would never cover our border. And they would never say it was chaos in our cities. Never. Chaos broke out in Morocco's border town of Reignited as migrants gathered in hopes of reaching Spain's North African, this enclave of Ceuta. They don't even, you think they're going to start saying the truth, but then they tone it down a little bit. Hopes of reaching. No, they reached and they invaded. Go ahead and play it. attempt to reach? No, they. All right, next. Senator Bernie Moreno asked Dr. Fauci. All right, well, we're switching it up really quick. You guys know that Dr. Fauci had a nice little visit in the congressional hearing on Capitol Hill. Before we get to that, I want to remind you all, if you are watching us live, hit that share button. If you're watching us on Facebook, and the like button, of course, that helps. YouTube, like, share, subscribe. Hit the notification bell, please, so that you know that we, when we're going live. And you can get in the comments. Tell us where you're watching from, or you can download osn.tv, only source network, and use promo code JOSH for exclusive 10% off on that subscription. All right, let's get back to it. Dr. Fauci, whose last name means, literally, it means sickle. That should tell you all you need to know. Senator Bernie Moreno asked Dr. Fauci to turn and look at rows of people in attendance who were persecuted for refusing to be the line on draconian masks, social distancing, harmful vaccines, and wet market propaganda. He refused to turn and acknowledge them. All you have to do is look up from your lawyers and look at the people who were absolutely shamed for saying what we know now to be the truth. You can't even look at them. And he pleads the fifth. Roll it.
Mr. Fauci, do you know who David Schertler is?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. What does the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution say?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
No, I'm just asking you what it says.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
I'm going to give the Constitution to my aide. He'll bring it over to you so you can have it for future reference. I think it's something that every American should know what the Constitution says. Do you know who wrote the Fifth Amendment?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
So you're invoking a right that you don't know who wrote it or what it says. Is that correct?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Wow. All right, let me tell you who David Schertler is for the audience, because he was ejected by the chairman. He's a high-profile criminal attorney. He's represented some really great people, like Senator Bob Menendez. Maybe that's somebody who my Democrat colleagues may remember took gold bars as bribes from the Egyptians. And there's an article here in the Washington Free Beacon that talks about why you would hire a guy like David Schertler. And the comment is, if you're in deep shit, that's who you call. Do you feel like you're in deep shit?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Clearly, what you think today is that somehow you're above reproach. Mm-hmm. Somehow you feel like you don't need to be treated like a normal American. Can you do me a favor in the audience and stand up if during the time of the COVID pandemic, you were called a racist for calling the virus a Wuhan virus or the China virus? If you thought the 6-foot rule was total crap, if you thought the vaccine wasn't something that you should take, if you thought it was outrageous the way the mask policy was rolled out, if you were fired from your job for not taking that vaccine, including members of the military, if you thought closing schools was catastrophically stupid, and that you thought that during these times saying these things made you somehow a lesser human being. Dr. Fauci, can you just turn around and look at the people behind you? You're not willing to do that?
Yeah, Laura Ingram.
That's not a question. It's not a question. To your lawyer, it's not a question. It's a request. All you have to do is look up from your lawyers and look at the people who were absolutely shamed for saying what we know now to be the truth. You can't even look at them? That's a question. Are you able to look at them? You can sit down, the audience.
Your mic's turned off. He doesn't know what he's doing.
There was a mom in Ohio during the depth of the coronavirus pandemic, decided to go to her high school football game for her son. They hadn't been out much. The kids had been learning at school, and then the school got shut down. They hadn't really gotten much out of that education.
All right,
as any parent knew.
So how many remember what that was like? I mean, it was already, gosh, 2019, 6-7 years ago. I mean, I know what you all are doing, little kids, waving your hands up and down. All right. You remember what happened. Nobody wanted to follow those rules. Nobody did, except the crazies that believed this man. And I remember getting this big old argument at the grocery store because this lady who was wheezing up and down with her mask and gloves on was upset because I was at the checkout counter, the self-checkout counter, without a mask. And she said, "You're the reason why people are dying and on a respirator." And I said, "It sounds like you should be on a respirator." Well, I have no idea what happened to that lady, but I wonder what she's thinking now. Because so many people lost their lives unnecessarily. Some people got sick because of receiving the you-know-what. I don't want to get, we're already trying to fight this algorithm. I don't want to get turned off. But now he's got this 10-year pardon. Who gets a 10-year pardon? He's got no prior prosecutions or charges. He's got no criminal record. He should be okay, right? He's a government employee for 30 years or whatever it's been. What does he need a 10-year pardon for? And then you are pardoned, so you should be able to speak freely. You should be able to say that you were doing what was in the best interest according to who was giving you information. Your scientists, your doctors. You weren't the only person in the room. You had a whole team of people that were helping you. If it was me, which I would never do what he did, you kind of like got to bring everybody else in the room and say, well, I was advised this way, that way, or the other. You would think, unless you were free to do whatever you wanted and you know that what you were doing is wrong, morally wrong, using baby fetuses that were aborted for research and countless of other diabolical things. All right, let's pull up the next one. Dr. Anthony Fauci invoked the Fifth Amendment 111 times and refused to answer lawmaker questions during Wednesday's Senate hearing. Senator Rand Paul, who has repeatedly asked Fauci of misleading the public about COVID-19's origins and the government's pandemic response, pointed to Fauci's newly released COVID-era diaries, arguing they conflict with his public statements during the pandemic. Republicans have also argued, by the way, you must be really stupid to release a diary that conflicts your answers when you were in a hearing. Like, do you not got lawyers? Well, apparently he does, but people advising you properly? You might not want to write that in the book because you said before Congress something different. President Joe Biden's blanket pardon would not protect Fauci if he had lied to Congress. So if he lies, he's in trouble. After hours of stonewalling, Paul announced the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee will vote next week on a resolution to hold Fauci in contempt of Congress, arguing the pardon means he cannot invoke the Fifth Amendment for matters covered by it. You know, I hate to say it, but people in situations like this, it's like the Epstein thing. You know, will we ever see the truth? I don't know. Flashback. Dr. Fauci's 2022 CNN interview isn't aging well. He said he would cooperate fully with Congress, that he has nothing to hide, and that could explain and validate everything. He's done. For years later, 4 years later, Fauci invoked the Fifth Amendment more than 100 times during his Senate testimony. Let's take a look at his words here.
Well, if I become a punching bag, I'm a punching bag, but I am very happy to testify before any congressional oversight committee.
Really?
I have nothing to hide. I can explain and validate everything that I've done. So, it's going to be inconvenient if they actually are out there essentially threatening to make my life miserable, but I'm going to do what I need to do, and that is cooperate fully because we have nothing to hide at all.
Under the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions. On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment. I respectfully decline to answer. On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Well, if I become...
Well, that didn't age well, just like the Post said. And he must be extremely worried. Like I said, if you had nothing to hide, tell the truth. There's probably, there's crimes, I'm sure, that were committed at a global level, because if he had anything to do with the Wuhan virus and it's, I forgot what they call it, research. Anyways, it'll come to me in a minute. But if it has anything to do with that, then yeah, he's got to answer for it. But man, if you're going to go down, you might as well take everybody else down with you. Why not? You've done more harm. You've done more harm to science than anybody in my lifetime, and I hope you all go home and write that in your diary. Senator Josh Hawley unleashes a scathing attack on Dr. Anthony Fauci during his Senate hearing, accusing the former top public health official of putting personal fame ahead of the American public. And I think there's even proof of him receiving millions of dollars in a whole pay-to-play scheme. It's not really pay-to-play, but it's like research, like commissions, I guess. The senator slams Fauci for seeking media attention and dodging accountability, calling his actions a total betrayal of his role. Roll it.
Silence is admission. And here's the real thing. At the end of the day, it wasn't just about the money, really, was it? It was really about a power trip. I mean, through all of this, you want to be the most famous scientist in the world. You were so focused on getting every award and every drop of cash that you could, all because you wanted to be on TV. You wanted to be the sun god of science. You wanted to be the guy who was in charge of it all. You wanted to lambast Trump. You wanted to make sure that nobody else stole your spotlight. You wanted to be the guy. You had time to sit for InStyle magazine. Here's what you were doing with your time. You could sit for InStyle magazine, but you can't answer questions for the American people. You could sit for InStyle magazine, but you're here taking the Fifth. You could sit for InStyle magazine and get $1 million in cash awards. But now the cat's got your tongue. I bet he does. I tell you what, here's my conclusion from all of this. This was really all about you the whole time. Somewhere along the way, you lost your way.
Mm-hmm.
You may have been a good public servant at one time. I don't know. But I can tell you from reading your emails now, from looking at what you did, how you used your employees, somewhere along the line, it became all about you. You became a narcissist and a megalomaniac and a liar. And you've lied to the American people, and you've lied to this body. And you've disgraced your profession by doing it. You called yourself the most famous scientist in the world. You've done more to harm science than anybody in my lifetime. And I hope you'll go home and write that in your diary.
Well, we can end the show there. That was pretty good. I hadn't seen that clip. That was mic drop. All right, next. Rand Paul goes scorched earth on Dr. Fauci in flames on opening statement. Fauci knew COVID came from a Chinese lab. Funded gain of function research. There you go. Funded gang of function research. That's a tongue twister. Directed officials to delete incriminating emails. New masks weren't effective. We all knew masks. Come on. You can smell a fart through masks. You can get COVID through a mask. Let's be real. Declared, I am the science. Fauci's pardon won't protect him if he lies to Congress today. Roll it.
Privately, he was well aware of a mountain of evidence suggesting the virus originated in the lab. The American people deserve answers. The American people deserve to know why dangerous research was funded by NIAID in a totalitarian country in a lab that lacked acceptable safety standards. The decision to fund dangerous gain-of-function research in Wuhan, China, will likely go down in history as perhaps one of the worst public health decisions. Frankly, the American people deserve an apology. I hope today, Dr. Fauci will come clean, admit it was a mistake to fund dangerous research in China, admit that the risk of this dangerous research exceeded any possible benefits, ask forgiveness, and pledge to help our government devise safeguards so a man-made epidemic never happens again. Instead of an apology, you have for years avoided responsibility. Regarding the lockdowns, you argue that you did not personally issue every lockdown order, close every school, or impose every mandate. But officials across the country invoked your authority to justify these decisions. And you presented your recommendations not as judgments open to debate, but as dictates of science itself. Your own words demonstrate that you understood the influence you exercised. On March 14th, 2020, you wrote that the task force recommendations were driven by me, yourself, Deb, and CDC. The next day, you wrote that you had convinced Mayor Bill de Blasio to close the New York City schools, so you were involved. That same night, Governor Gavin Newsom's chief of staff told you that the governor had decided to close California schools, bars, and restaurants after watching you on television. Presidents, governors, mayors, school boards, corporations, and Congress all bear responsibility for the decisions they made. The COVID lockdown, however, could never have been inflicted without you aiding and abetting the crime. Children lost education, small business
that was
disappeared.
Oh, sorry.
Patients delayed cancer screenings and other medical care. Families were separated from dying relatives. Workers were ordered to accept a medical procedure or lose their jobs. Worship assembly, employment, education, and travel were restricted in the name of science. While you did not impose every restriction, you used your public authority to justify them. While you concluded publicly that COVID occurred naturally, your private record tells a different story.
All
In
right, we
early
can pause
2020, your
there.
handpicked.
He basically laid out, he gave him an out, really. If you listen to the beginning of that, he basically told him, you could apologize, you can come clean and say your truth. That's what I was saying earlier. How about just if you're an honest person and you're not narcissist, like Senator Hawley was saying, it's not about you and it's about the American people. Why don't you come clean to the American people? After all, so many people listen to you. Governors, presidents, mayors, superintendents for school districts, and on and on and on. We're all listening to your instructions based off of your gain-of-function research that really started all this. I don't know about you guys, but I think this man could be in trouble. Now, we can only hope and believe that justice will prevail, but we shall see, because there is a greater power that is in control of some of these people. But I know someone who's in complete control, and that's our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I want to thank everybody for joining us on the Political Pulpit, especially for the Political Pulpit News Wire. This is our news show. This is where we give you the news unfiltered, just how it comes, not based off of CNN and ABC or even Fox News and the other ones. We just kind of we see it, we present it, and we talk about it. A biblical worldview, though, and from a biblical perspective. We want to thank you all for joining us and for being part of our movement. Remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Let everybody know. Share it with your friends. Let them know where you got your information from. If you want to be a partner, join us at www.politicalpulpit.com/partner, or just get your news. And we will see you all next week. And I believe we're going to have a couple of Bible studies coming out this weekend and on the Fresh Fire broadcast. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a part of us. We'll see you all next time. God bless.